Welcome back. I'm Gary Parr, and you're listening to Fiber Talk, the twice-weekly podcast for needlework artists. Our artist this week, Becky Noland from Lucy Beam. Becky, welcome.
Hi.
So glad to have you with us. All right. Now, my grandmother basically raised me, so I was really close to my grandmother. When I read your story about how you got exposed to stitching and needlework and sewing and everything from your grandmother, it was like, oh, what a story. But so I got to hear about, as a kid, dumpster diving for.
My grandmother was a hoot. She was hilarious, and she loved to stitch and quilt, and she didn't knit, I don't think, but she did all the sewing. And they had a factory in the town where they lived in Wewoka, Oklahoma, that made clothes. And she would take me after it was closed, after the day was done, the work day was done, and they had all these dumpsters outside of the building. And I was a little tiny kid, and she'd hold me by my ankles and she'd lower me in to these dumpsters. She would say, "Grab that pile over there," and then she'd pull me up, and then we'd start over and do that. And oh my gosh, yeah, those are some of my favorite childhood
So
memories.
so so you're on private factory property after hours in the dumpster, taking leftover fabric, whatever you could get. Oh, that's so.
Yeah,
That's
pretty
why.
much.
Oh, your grandma had to be a piece of work. Wow.
She was so funny. She taught me how to embroider when I was about 5.
Oh my!
And
Right
I
away.
have, yeah, I was real little. And I taught my kids how to embroider when they were like 3. So,
Oh.
as soon as they could not stab themselves in the eye, I stuck a needle in their hand. So, yeah.
Oh man, the mental image of that happening at after hours is something else. And they must not have minded, or you never got caught either way, huh?
I don't think they cared.
Yeah,
I mean, really,
it's trash. Yeah.
obviously. And there was, yeah, it will, yeah, actually, anything in a trash can right outside the property line is public property. I mean, technically, but anyway,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. So, no, it was a regular occurrence.
So you were just collecting whatever you could get and then get home and sort it out and figure out what you could use and pitch the rest then.
Yeah, yeah. I
Okay.
don't know if she threw anything away, but I have baby blankets that we made out of that fabric
Yeah.
for my kids.
And I'm sure it was good
Yeah.
fabric back then.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah,
boy,
way
what
back in
fun.
it was fun. She was a funny lady.
Oh, that's crazy. That's crazy. So all right, then you really got an early start, boy, and even your kids early. Do your kids still stitch?
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
they do. My daughter dyes fabric for cross stitch. She's lapping loops.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
So that's her company is lapping loops.
In the family. In the
Hmm.
family. Oh my. All right. Well, now we got to do a show with her to learn about the
Oh
dyeing
yeah.
thing. Yeah. Yeah. So then she's your main supplier then, huh?
Yeah, I use her and I use Weeks Dye Works and I use Under the Sea Fabrics. Those are my main go-to for when I'm pulling for models.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you starting that young? Was it design your own things, or did you do other people's designs? I mean, I'm going to guess your grandma just said, "Hey, make your own things."
I I mean, they have stuff around the house that I designed when I was a little bitty kid.
Hmm.
Stuffed animals and all kinds of little artwork, and I did woodworking when I was little, and I just anything I could get a hold of, I did it.
Yeah.
So I'm still like that. Before I started being a cross stitch designer, I was an interior designer for about 20 years.
Oh.
So I remodeled houses and hospitals and office buildings and stuff like that.
Okay. Because that's what I was going to ask. Did this lead to then a schooling and a career of creativity, and so it did.
Well, yes and no. I went to college for ancient Chinese history and language.
How'd that pay?
Apparently, I did something else, but I didn't. do anything with
No,
it.
no. But a fun thing to study, I'm sure. Yeah,
Oh my gosh, yes, it was absolutely fascinating.
yeah.
Yeah.
So then, how does interior design? Did you actually have schooling for interior design, or just use innate ability?
Nope. Yep. I didn't I was not formally trained for that. I was formally trained for something else, but I homeschooled my kids, and when they started getting up in grades and I was able to put them in like a co-op, I started working. And it was part-time, and then eventually when they were out of high school, and one of them was still in high school, one was out, it was more full-time. So because they were in co-op. So yeah, yeah, it was interesting. So
So,
I was able to train them. They sew, they knit, they crochet, they stitch, they draw. Both my kids are very artistic.
oh, I'll be darned. Yeah. So the interior design was just, hey, you have an eye for it, and people ask you, and eventually it
Hmm.
becomes a business.
Yeah,
Huh. The
yeah,
old,
it's an accident, really.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I should have mentioned right up front, you're part of the Sampler U. You and Sylvia Stecker are going to do the Sampler
Yes.
U thing for EGA, and we'll get to that later. I should have mentioned that up front. We'll get to that later. But I'm fascinated by this. So then you're doing interior design. When does this needlework design stuff start to take over? Was there an overlap, and eventually you just said, I want to design needlework, cross stitch?
Well, I learned how to cross stitch when I lived in Bermuda. I grew up overseas, and a friend came over to visit us, and she taught me how to cross stitch. I think I was in 11th grade,
Hmm.
and I just loved it. So I had been a avid stitcher, and I'd worked in needlework stores part time, off and on over the years.
Yeah.
And I remodeled a hospital. And I remember sitting there at the end of it going, yeah, I'm really tired of this. I don't want to do this anymore. So I thought, well, what am I going to do when I grow up? So I took a couple years off, and then, I decided I wanted to design cross stitch of all things. And I designed, my first one's up there, um, a piece, and I had a picture of it on my phone. And I went to a retreat, a cross stitch retreat, and Kathy Barrick was there. And
Uh-huh.
oh my gosh, I always loved Kathy Barrick's design. So I met her in person. It was like, oh my
Yeah.
god. So I showed her. I said, "Man, I think I want to become a cross stitch designer." And I showed her on my phone the thing I designed, and she's like,
Yeah.
"Oh my gosh, yes." She goes, "Let's go on vacation together." And I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Let's go on vacation together, and I'll tell you everything about the industry." And that's what we did.
Oh. So you connected
And
with one of the leading designers and got the whole schooling for how to go
yeah,
about it. Because yeah, for a lot that trial and error has got to be difficult. How
yeah,
to
she's the reason I have a job.
yeah
I mean, really, she is fabulous. And she ushered me in and introduced me to everybody and told me what to do. And here's the software you want to use and get in. I mean, it was a lifesaver, really. I would never have figured this out.
yeah yeah.
So, yeah, she's awesome. So I started, and that was in, let's see, 2015. So
Hmm.
10 years this year.
Yeah yeah. And then it fascinates me how these design things get going. So you have this one design. Was that one of a whole bunch that was in your head? Or was it, all right, now Kathy, show me the door. Now I can go nuts, and so you sit down and start designing.
I had a bunch already designed. I just didn't know how to make them become,
Yeah,
a chart and how to get them out there to the world. And she helped me figure that out. And yeah, I have thousands of ideas.
yeah,
So I have a note app on my phone, and every time I get an idea, I write it in there, or I talk into my voice memo if I'm driving. You always get ideas at the worst possible moment
right,
when you can't possibly write
right,
them down or
yeah,
start them.
right.
So yeah.
Yeah, two in the morning. Yeah, yeah,
Hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah,
exactly.
definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I have that with podcasts. Yeah, all the time. Oh man, give me something to write on, or yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Yep. All the
An
time.
Apple Watch is handy because I have my voice memo on my Apple Watch on the face. I can just hit it and start talking, you
Yeah.
know, ideas
Yeah.
into it. So yeah, that's handy.
Oh, I never thought of that because I do a lot of cycling and that's thinking time. So I get ideas and so I'll stop and put it into notes. But I got an Apple Watch. Why am I not thinking?
It took me a while to remember, like, oh
Oh,
yeah, I can just talk it into this, while I'm doing whatever, driving down the road, and that's been a lifesaver. And then I just listen to them,
oh, you've
and
done
then
it.
write them
You've done
down.
it. Oh, now I don't
Oh
have to
yeah,
stop. Now I don't have to stop. I just talk into my watch. I never gave it a
yes.
thought. Ah, thank you. Thank you.
You're
I owe you
welcome.
a beer.
I'll take a
Outstanding.
glass of wine.
Okay, well, whatever it is you work. Oh man. Oh, now I got it. It's right there on my wrist, and I didn't realize it. Excellent. Yeah. So these designs, do you just start pumping them out? I mean, how does your business grow? Did you get an immediate positive reaction?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got it. I opened an Etsy store. This before I had a distributor. I still have an Etsy store. I don't have anything on it right now, but I have a website instead. Yeah, just you just start designing. And sometimes it comes in spurts. Like I can get a whole lot of stuff designed, and then I'll have 6 months where there's zero,
Yeah.
zero
Hmm.
ideas or whatever, is going on. But I always try and have stuff in the pipe, that's being stitched by model stitchers, or I'm stitching it, or it's half designed, or whatever. Some designs take years to get right, and then
Yeah.
others come together really fast. It's crazy, and I never know what's going to happen. So I
Hmm.
have something in my head, and I'll sit down at the computer or the iPad. I have 5 different software design pieces that I use, pieces of software that I use, and then I'll figure out which one I want to eventually bring them all into to make it a chart. But
Uh-huh.
um, yeah, and you just never know what's going to happen. I think I know what I'm going to design, and then it turns out completely different.
Uh,
So it's always a shock to me as well,
uh-huh.
you know, what's at the other end.
So that whole process is very fluid then. You have a kernel of an idea
Yeah.
and then you
Yes. It never just comes out the way I imagine it.
uh,
And I really thought, oh my gosh, I'm a terrible designer. I mean, why can't I just have it here and make it go there without all this convoluted mess happening? And I finally figured out that's just my process.
yeah. I don't think
I
you're
design it on
alone.
the computer first. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then stitch it.
Uh-huh. I don't think you're alone with that. All the designers we've talked to, that's the understanding I have is that design process, whether it's on paper or on the computer or whatever, or stitching, is a constant adjustment till you get to the final thing. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's no, I don't think you're alone there. It's just where you
Well,
begin and
that's
how you go
good.
about it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I redesign a lot as I stitch too. So if I'm stitching the model, it gets redesigned a lot as it's
oh,
going. And if I send it to a model stitcher, I'm just, white knuckling it till I get it back
uh huh,
to see if it turned out okay. And I remember asking Kathy, I'm like, what do I do if I get a model back? And I'm like, oh my goodness, I picked the wrong thread or whatever. And she's like, just release it anyway and go on. So, and that's what I do because I
yeah,
look and go, okay. But I have really great model stitchers, especially one who's fabulous. Um, and I'll say, if you think I've made an unfortunate color choice,
uh huh,
let me know.
yeah.
So she's really good to say, were you like asleep when you picked this out? So yeah, she'll catch a lot of mess, and then we talk about it and figure out what's gonna look good. And yeah, she's there. Good model stitchers are a lifesaver.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I bet you hang on to those if you find them. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Is the color thing is just a constant back and forth in your head? Yes, no, this shade, that shade. So you don't see the colors and lock in on them. It's okay.
I have bad eyesight, honestly. So when I design, the colors on my computer are like lime green, electric blue, everything looks like a hot mess. so I can see it, so I can
Oh,
actually see it
uh,
off the screen, and then I have to print it out and just symbols and then pick the color. I never pick the color before I
oh,
start designing because I can't see that. It has to be so garish.
yeah,
If anyone looked over my shoulder, they'd be like, "Man, I'm never stitching that." But it turns out pretty good at the end.
yeah, yeah. Huh. Because I mean, the color thing. Well, we've been doing a lot with color lately, and I have the standard male red green color blindness. So I struggle with colors
Oh yeah,
like
man, you
like
would.
Christmas red and Christmas green. I got those. I can do that. You get into those shades, and I start having a lot of trouble. So when we talk about color, it's always a struggle for me. So so for you, it's just a vision thing. You got to see it on the screen to get the design done, and then figure out the colors. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And what colors you choose change if you change your fabric. So it's
Hmm.
just a constant, you know, it can take weeks to pick colors for something sometimes.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
depends on how complicated it is or what fabric you chose or the lighting or, you know, there's
Right.
never there's never one thing that works.
Yeah. Well, there's so many factors, and lighting is Today it's this, and tomorrow it's that, and
Yeah.
yeah, it changes. So your daughter dyeing fabric, does she say, "Hey, I just finished this," and give you an inspiration, or
Oh
it,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay, okay,
She'll say, "Oh, we think we messed up on this, and it turned into that." And I'm like, "Send me a picture." And I'm like, "Well, that's pretty. Why don't we? You should make that a new fabric." They'll be dejected because they thought they made a mistake. And I
yeah,
think every dyer does that. Dye is incredibly volatile. You never
yeah,
know what's going to happen at the end of it.
yeah,
It's just so yeah, she does a good job.
yeah. No, I'm always amazed at those dyers, whether it's thread or cloth, that they can get consistent colors, and then some you can tell they just, okay, this time it came out this way, and isn't this nice, and go with that. Yeah.
I would not want her job. That that is hard work. I've helped her, not the dye, but I've helped her like prep the fabric, and it is so much physical labor. It is
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes
Yeah.
you run back to your designing in a hurry, huh?
Yes. I'm like, yeah, I think we both picked the right jobs for us.
Yeah. Now you do your work all has kind of a primitive look to it. Is that how does that come about? Did you evolve into that, or just that's the way your head sees things?
I don't know how it happened.
Yeah.
I mean, I love primitive looking stuff, and I thought I would be more primitive and more decrepit looking, but I never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So it was probably 2 or 3 years into my career. I was at a retreat in Columbus, Ohio, and I did my table up and I stepped back to look at it to make sure it was like even and, it flowed and all this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have a style.
Yeah.
I was so
Yeah.
shocked. It was a surprise. I'm like, oh my gosh, I actually have a style. I just never know what's going to
Oh,
happen.
you very much have a style. So you didn't even plan that. Okay.
No, absolutely not.
Cause yeah, oh
Just
you have a style. There's no question. It all stands out. Yeah, and it all works. Yeah, that's
wow. Well, thank you.
yeah. No, it's amazing, just about everything you do is small. So you're very small working space. How do you keep fresh? How do you keep from getting in a rut?
I have so many ideas,
Oh,
so I start going through the list, and I try to expand. Like this year, I'm going to. I always have these goals. I write a business plan every year, so I bring over the business plan from the last year. Okay, what did I write down? It's usually 7 or 8 pages long, or well, 10 or whatever, and then I check off like, okay, I accomplished that. Like I learned this stitch, or I did this kind of finish, or I did this kind of finishing class or something, like that. And then I start adding, okay, what do I want to do this year? What do I want to learn this year? What do I want to improve on? What do I want to, showcase? So I just do that every year.
So
I
you're
don't know if I
using
answered your question.
no, that's okay because so you're using your designs then as a way to expand your skills too.
Oh yeah, I'm always trying to learn something new.
Okay.
A new finish or and it just I don't know. They just happen.
Yeah.
I just sit down and start designing. I never know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Huh.
So I'm sorry, I don't have like
No,
a
it's
formula or
no.
anything.
You're not the first.
It,
You're not the first by a long shot. No, it's and that's artists. To me, that's artists. Everybody approaches it different, and somehow they all get to a good spot. So, um,
yeah, we get lucky.
yeah. But you mentioned about learning a new stitch, and I've been exploring that a little bit, and actually been thinking about putting a survey up because I've seen several posts in cross stitch groups on Facebook where people, I don't do specialty stitches. I don't want it, I don't want anything to do with it. And I'm working on an old cross stitch thing, a chart from 30 years ago, where it used to be fractional stitches, and of course back
Oh yeah.
stitching, and
hmm
and all that. And to me, it looks so much better. But today, people just want nothing to do with that. They just want to make X's. Do you do you
Yes.
do you find that do you try to introduce stitches and find resistance, or what's your experience with just cross stitchers in general?
Um, Sometimes they really love learning new stitches, and sometimes they really don't.
Yeah.
And I don't do a lot of back stitching. I used to stitch a lot of P. Buckley moss, which if you've ever stitched a
Oh
P.
yeah.
Buckley moss,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
there's 1,000 quarter stitches and
Yep.
half stitches and
Yep.
back stitching. And yeah, this now people don't like that as much, but I try to introduce like the this piece right here that's for the EGA that has Smyrna stitches. That's the entire alphabet.
Yeah.
So, but if they really hated that, they could just do a cross stitch in there. But
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll be fun. It's fun to learn something new. And sometimes I put a specialty stitch in that they could just cross stitch if they wanted to, and they don't have to do that. Just give them a choice. But I've always loved specialty stitches. And when I first started stitching, I stitched a lot of shepherd's bush,
Uh-huh.
and they have tons of specialty stitches in
Right.
their pieces. And Heart and Hand, she had a lot of specialty stitches. I learned a lot of specialty stitches from stitching her stuff. I fell in love with them.
Mm-hmm.
And antique samplers have a lot of specialty stitches in them, so
Right.
I like that too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. No. Samplers do if you look for them. It's just one of those things where, and I think maybe the label specialty stitches, which you got to call it something, uh, makes people nervous too. But this it's just a resistance that I struggle to understand. But then I learned needlepoint. That's where I started was
Oh
needlepoint.
man, to
So
me that's like going to the moon in a canoe. I could never figure out needlepoint.
oh
I tried.
oh
That is so hard, and maybe because you started there, specialty stitches don't phase you.
no, not at all. No, matter of fact, I enjoy them. Constant
Yeah,
cross stitch just gets boring to me. To me, that's mindless stitching. That's just put on a movie, sit there and just stitch. But yeah, give me some other stitches, and now the interest level goes up quite a bit. I mean,
yeah,
matter of fact, I've got a great big reproduction sampler right now that I'm working on, so it's not like I don't do them. But yeah, I just love when we have different stitches, and even today's cross stitch where we don't do quarter stitches. To me, it loses something. Uh,
I have to agree with you. Honestly, I do miss that rounding. Like
yes.
it's easier. I have trouble rounding stuff. I'm like, oh man, I wish I could put a half stitch in there.
Yep.
But we have a lot of our demographic is aging, like me,
Mm-hmm.
and they're starting to go back to Ada. It's really hard to do a three-quarter stitch or a half stitch or quarter
Yeah.
stitch on Ada. So
Yeah.
you have to keep that in mind as a
Yeah.
designer.
Yeah, and that, yeah, from your perspective, yeah, there's some adjustments you have to make to be able to reach the largest audience. That, yeah, that's so true. Yeah, but oh no, we were commenting on something the other day, just as co-hosts, and it was, you know, you can't get circles, you can't get round things, and I said, well, you used to be able to, but people just won't do the stitches to make it happen, and
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, I do miss that because I like P. Buckley Moss, had a bazillion of those stitches in it. I love her. Just when June Grigg did her stuff, I
hmm,
stitched so much of that. It was a lot. I
yeah.
enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah, because you could get those curves. If you had a shoulder or an arm or face or whatever, you could get a nice curve instead of the stair steps. Yeah, and
Yes, yes.
that pixelated look. Yeah, yeah. Oh well, so it is. Um,
It may
yeah,
come back around. You never know.
we can hope. We can hope. Well, and that's the other thing is I think people don't realize that nothing prevents you from putting in quarter and half stitches where you're doing a curved thing and it's a stair step. You can fill those in.
Hmm.
Nothing prevents you, and it looks so much better. It's
Hmm.
if people would,
I am in
yeah,
total agreement
yeah,
with
people just
that.
do it, and maybe that's a class to teach. Is let's take your standard cross stitch today, and let's show you how you can get a nice smooth curve with
Yeah.
just some very simple adjustments. Yeah, it's not that big a
Well,
deal.
I'll
Yeah.
put that in my business plan for this year.
There you go. There you go. No charge for that. That's on the house. Yep.
Oh, thank you.
So you also do reproduction samplers. Tell me about that. Is that because you don't do a lot of them from what I can see on your website? Uh, is that do you enjoy that or is it just a side interest?
I love it.
Okay.
It is one of my favorite things to do. I have a closet full of reproduction samplers that
Uh
I've
oh.
bought.
Uh
Oh
oh.
yeah, I have a absolute stack, and I I absolutely love them. I love them. Most of mine are from England. I have a couple from the States, but I buy most of them from England. Like this one. Here, oh, look
Yeah.
at that.
Yeah.
That's coming up. So that's going to be
Okay.
released this summer. That's
Okay.
a model stitcher right now. Yeah, I love them. I am fascinated by them. That
Yeah.
these little kids did this with
Yep.
like zero lighting and a limited amount of materials they had to choose from, and it's mind blowing,
Yeah.
really. And I have learned so much about design from reproducing antique samplers.
Oh. Okay. So
Yeah.
that feeds your meter then. Just
Oh
reproducing them.
gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know I could do that. The 7-year-old figured it out, but I never would have thought of that. So yeah. Oh my gosh. I learned more about design from doing these
Okay.
than anything else I could have figured out. I mean, they're just fascinating. The colors they chose, they're little kids. So you turn them over and they're super bright
Yep.
on the other side, sometimes garishly so. They're
Yep.
just, you can't really choose those threads for this.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're so much fun. I love them.
Yeah.
I have so many to do. It is beyond comprehension. So I
Yeah.
need to get with it honestly and do that. Get some more out.
Yeah. Now I've seen the backs of some of them. It's like holy smokes, give me some sunglasses. Um,
Yes.
but that to me that's the fun thing. I enjoy that, and I enjoy seeing the back sides of those because that tells me what kind of kid we had. You
Yes.
know, whether she was really serious or just get it done. I want to go play. So there'll be a 4-inch carry of a thread in the back to to the other side.
Yes.
Just I don't care. Leave me alone. Get me out of here. Yeah. But the
This was the
colors.
worst one actually I've ever done
Yeah.
because she stitched over one, over two, over three. She counted
Oh.
over three for one. I mean, it was a hot mess. I thought I am never gonna get
Yeah.
this done for modern stitchers. So it's an adaptation. It's not a reproduction, like every stitch, you would not be able to stitch it
Yeah. Yeah.
if I did it exactly how she did it. It's impossible.
Yeah.
So once you get it, I have a big lamp with a microscope. Oh, sometimes you want that,
Yeah. I was going to
with
say, yeah,
a
that would be a
magnifier
good thing.
with a magnifier glass, and I can really enlarge it, and that's when you see. Sometimes you just can't even tell until you get it under that magnifying glass of what's even happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lot of fun.
For our larger audience, which is audio only, you've been pointing to what is the sampler that people should watch for this summer?
Okay, it's an Adam and Eve, and it the name of it will be God hath said. So it says God hath said, ye shall not eat of it, neither shall you touch it, lest ye die. And it was by Anne Walker Cosington, aged 8 years old, 1851.
Okay.
And it has a picture of Adam and Eve with a snake and some dogs of all things at the bottom. It was just so cute. I just fell in love with it.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so
yeah,
people need to watch for that. And you talk about the colors. So we see that one, and it's old, it's dirty, the colors are faded, and it looks like that. When you go to do them, that to me is the most interesting choice that reproduction people make is, do I want it to still look old, or do I want it to look fresh? So I go to the back for those colors, or do you try to find some middle ground that works for you?
it depends on the
I knew that
piece.
was the answer.
It,
I knew that
it
was the
I and
answer.
it I know, and it depends on um the mood you're in that day sometimes, and it depends on just I don't know. It just depends on a lot. Sometimes I try to do a mix of front and back. Sometimes I just do the back. Sometimes I try to make it look like the front, and you just never know what's going to happen, when you start pulling the thread.
Yeah, yeah,
It's all so surprising. Nothing ever goes to plan. I noticed. And
yeah.
sometimes you pick, like I picked the back. I have a one that's from, I think, 1798. It's my favorite one. It is my favorite reproduction I've ever done. And she was 7 or 9, and it was from 1798. It's my oldest one.
Uh huh.
It
Man.
was just a dud. And I don't know if I picked the back by accident and just no one got it, or they didn't like the color scheme she chose, and it has a lot of specialty stitches in it. But that didn't seem to catch fire like some of the others did. And it is absolutely the most precious thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes my favorite designs no one likes. And then my least favorite designs, I'm like, well, I might as well just release this. It just everybody loves. So
It
you
takes
don't
off.
even have any idea what anyone's going to like.
Yeah.
No idea.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's art. You can go to
Hmm.
recording artists, musicians, and I'm sure they'd say the same thing. Oh, I put this out, and these two songs, I just threw them in, and they take off. And who
Yeah.
knew? Yeah.
You never know. Never.
Yeah. I mean, you hear those stories all the time, and okay, that's the hit, and you ride with it because yeah, it
Yeah.
sells. People want to hear it. People want to stitch it. Whatever it is. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's always a surprise.
Yeah. When you're reproducing, is that kind of a zen time for you? I mean, is that relaxing or is it stressful trying to figure out all those little stitches, half of them, which I'm sure are damaged in some way?
Um, if it depends on how bad the piece is, how bad
Yeah.
a shape it's in. Sometimes it's really fast, and sometimes, like this one, you're just like, I am not going to make it.
Yeah.
This is a really hard one. So it depends on how, what they did to it, how many mistakes there are in it. I try to fix the mistakes for the modern stitcher.
Okay.
Um, and sometimes the fabric they did it on is like an odd count, and everything we have except for 35, I think, is even.
Yeah.
And, it just, I don't know. I mean, sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I know I keep saying that. I never
No,
know what's
that's,
going to
I mean,
happen.
that's the, yeah, that's the nature of the beast. But I know what you mean about when they're not consistent. I've stitched a couple of samplers where just the border, it's this time it's 4, this time it's 5, and you get going in a rhythm, and then you realize you're off,
Yeah.
and it's like, really, you can't count 4 multiple times? No, just they're kids.
Sometimes I try to make my borders symmetrical if I
Uh huh.
can.
Okay.
So I Frankenstein these things sometimes to try to not have people want to string me up,
Yeah. Yeah.
and tie me down and, like, what are you doing to us? We wanted this to be mindless because people want the border to be mindless. I
Right.
want the border to be mindless. So
Yeah.
yeah, I try, but sometimes I can't. Sometimes I have to make it non-symmetrical, but it
Yeah.
just depends on the piece, the middle. I try to do the border first, actually, get that done, and then I start sticking the middle in,
Mm-hmm.
especially if there's a lot of mistakes in the original.
Yeah.
And then I can kind of fix everything and make sure it all fits in there.
So
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 that's
you're
how I go about it.
you're a long way from a purist who, this is the way she stitched it and this is the way I'm going to reproduce it. You try to make it so it doesn't drive people nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a purist in other things, but not this.
Not that. Okay.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Let's talk about the sampler U since we're on samplers. The sampler U. Uh, so you're doing a sewing kit. Sylvia Stecker has a sampler, and you're doing this sewing kit. This is your own design or something you've
Yeah.
adapted from?
It's a mixture. So here it is. I don't know. I guess you want to see it.
Sure.
Um,
Hold it on
trying
the
to
other
figure out
side
how
though.
I'm trying to figure
There
out
we go.
where to put it.
Yeah.
So Smyrna stitch alphabet, and then these motifs are motifs that I found in samplers that I own. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to hold this. Okay, there you
That's all
go.
right. You're all right.
And that's like one of my favorite little borders right here. So I put that at the end.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. It's actually pretty easy to stitch. I didn't make it too difficult. Once they get the Smyrna stitch down, they'll just be able to roll with it. That's a real easy specialty stitch, actually.
Yeah. So
So,
so
and then
this
the
thing
back.
is, oh, okay. So this thing is a complete assemblage from different samplers and different alphabet or alphabet from something and motifs from other samplers, and it's something you
Hmm.
put together to make this
Yeah,
sewing, and this is sewing roll then.
yeah, yep. So I'm rolling it so you can see what it'll look like when it's rolled up. So, whoop. Sorry.
Other
Okay.
side, other side,
Other
other
side. There
left.
we go.
There you go.
Okay. Let me turn it
Okay.
like when it's not up. It's
Yeah.
not upside down. So they can, put things in it and then sew it, roll it up and tie it and stick it in their sewing bag.
Okay. So
And they'll also,
on the back then are pockets for scissors and
yes.
thread and needles and
Okay. There you go.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So here's a little flannel for needles, and then there's two pockets for stuff. And they're going to be making this strawberry as well. Okay. There we,
Oh, okay. Other
so they'll
side.
be making this.
Other side. There we go.
Sorry. Okay, here we go. I
Everything's
don't do
opposite.
well with. Okay. So they'll be making this in class. It's a little handmade strawberry with a little greenery on top. And that
Yeah.
can fit in their sewing kit.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll have, floss tags. Okay, I'm getting this opposite down
Yep.
with
There we
all the
go.
floss on them. So it's all organized. And a project bag. So
Wow.
have a project bag to put it in, and then a little covered hoop
Oh,
for them to
excellent.
work with. So that's in their kit.
Yeah. Okay, and let me just detail. So, Sampler U is part of the EGA National Seminar, and
Yes,
it's 2 day weekend. Are you and Sylvia each doing 1 day, or how is that working?
I think so. Yeah, we're each doing one day.
Each doing 1 day, and so and the beauty of this is it's a chance for people who are not EGA members to participate in this and experience a national seminar without being there the
Yeah.
whole week. So that's the real beauty of it. So you go in and you can take these two classes, this beautiful sewing roll, learn how to put that all together, and then of course Sylvia's got this beautiful sampler that
Hmm.
I have over there that I've just started on a little bit. But Beth and I did smalls out of that a couple 3 weeks ago. So then people can go and experience this, and there's lunches involved and swag bags and all kinds of things. But it's a real chance if you're not a member or if you just have a couple days, you can't get away for 4 or 5 days. You just a couple of days, you can come and experience the national seminar and take
Hmm.
these terrific classes and experience all this from Sylvia and Becky, and just get involved. Because for a lot of people, a national seminar is just too many days. You know, I got kids,
Yeah.
I got a job, I got what. So this is on a weekend in Dallas or near Dallas, wherever. I forget what town it's in, but
We'll say the greater Dallas area.
there we go. There we go. Yeah, that'll narrow it down to nothing. Uh,
I can't remember the address,
I can't either.
but
It's
yeah.
okay. It's all at egausa.org. All the details are there. But so then you've got an entire day. Are people going to finish this, or how are you going to approach that? Because to stitch all that in a day is probably not going to happen.
So I'm
Um,
going to send out the kits early so they can have it stitched up, and then the class
oh,
will be a finishing class.
okay. Oh,
So
so you're. Oh, okay.
they'll have it finished when they walk out
Excellent.
because I'm going to
Excellent.
send it out months ahead of time.
Yeah. So sign up. Yeah, and so you can
Yeah,
get
sign up
stitching. Yeah, so you can get
because
stitching. Well, that's great because I mean, I don't, I'm not a class person, but I've taken some classes, and I think all except one remain unfinished. You get home, you go back to what you were working on, you set it aside, and so this way, they're gonna get finishing experience, instructed finishing experience. But then when they're all done, that thing is complete, so they can put it to work
yeah,
in their project. So that's great. That's really great. Yeah, yeah.
most of
So
my classes, except if the organizer doesn't want it that way, like sometimes the organizer's like, I want them to get the kit at the retreat. They don't want pre-stitching. So if they don't want pre-stitching, I try to have a make it and take it project for
okay,
them to do. So they walk out there with something. It just depends on what the organizer wants, but probably 90% of the classes I teach, and I teach all over the country all year long,
yeah,
that they walk out with a finished project. And I do embroidery classes too, where I teach them how to design embroidery,
uh huh,
and they design a piece. So what I've done with two of those is I have a cross stitch piece that is they get some, well, no, they got one. Yeah, they get it pre-stitched. So they get the pre-stitched cross-stitch piece, and a lot of times it's a complicated finish. Like I did a pocket class, and that's a pretty involved finish for
yeah,
that. And so I knew that, they were gonna. Oh wait, sorry, my brain just shut off. So they didn't get that pre-stitched. But they got to learn how to design embroidery. They embroidered a pocket, they finished the pocket.
mm-hmm.
So when they finished stitching, cross stitching the other piece, they would know how to put it together
Okay,
because they had already put it together exactly the same size, exactly the same way.
yeah,
So that's actually was a big hit. People love that.
yeah,
I've done two of those.
uh huh. You enjoy teaching classes?
It's my favorite part of the job.
Is it? Okay,
100%.
yeah,
I did not know how much alone time this job was. I mean, I'd never been a designer before. I
yeah, yeah,
interior design, you're out, you're talking to people, you're talking to, you know, construction people and project managers and whoever you're doing it for. And, it's a lot of activity. You're always around people and talking to people. I didn't realize this was 99% of the time you're sitting alone in your pajamas, designing something, not seeing anybody.
Yeah.
No, I don't even have a store near me, so it's not like I can even go in a store. So I had no idea. And Kathy said, because she recognized that, I think she recognized I am a extrovert. So I love to be around people. She's like, just do a lot of, start doing classes. So I immediately started teaching classes that year.
Oh, oh,
Um, I lived in Virginia at the time, and I was good friends with Lori from Not Forgotten Farm,
oh,
and
mm-hmm.
she hired me to teach. She hired me every year to teach at her shop. So her shop always got the first class of whatever I was going to be teaching
Okay.
all over the country. I worked out all the bugs with them, and those people became my friends. And yeah, they're awesome. So I immediately started teaching, and
Uh,
I've been doing it ever since.
uh. See, I'd be an excellent designer because I I do this podcast, but in general, I like being alone. So yeah, I could sit all day and just do
Yeah,
that.
it's not my favorite. It's not my favorite part of the job. Unfortunately, it's the biggest part of the job.
Yeah.
So I usually have between 10 and 11 teaching retreats that I'm doing a year.
Wow. That's a lot when you consider all the prep time. That's
Yes, it is a lot. I am very busy.
that's a heavy schedule.
So
Yeah.
it is. I think I have 2 months well, no. Yeah, 2 months this year where I'm not, but usually it's packed.
Yeah.
My schedule's
Yeah.
packed. So I'm booking 20, 27, 28 right now.
Really? Already?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a
Wow.
few slots left at 26, but yeah, I fill it real fast. So it's fun. I love it.
And 25 is essentially
Oh, yeah,
over.
no.
You just got to
Oh, it's over.
just got to execute it, huh? Yeah.
Yes, yeah, I can't take on. There's no way I can take on
Yeah.
anything else this year.
Yeah.
It's
It
packed.
in doing that, do you struggle to keep up a flow of new designs if you're because I mean people think oh you're teaching for a weekend, how much time does that take? But it's a huge amount of prep work, travel time, uh, getting materials. I think people don't realize how much goes into just getting to the event. Uh,
That's
s-
huge.
yeah,
I
a
have to
lot.
order 6, 7 months in advance the thread and the fabric sometimes
Yeah, yeah,
because it takes so long to get it, or they need to make sure they can dye enough, or yeah, and then you have to kit it all together. And I end up making a lot of these project bags because I love to make them, and they're
uh,
fun, and they're a special thing for the students. So yeah, it's a ton of work,
yeah. Yeah, just to
absolute ton of work.
so 10 classes, which sounds like 10 weekends, what's the big deal is yeah, that's huge. That's
It's
huge.
all year. Yeah, I
Yeah.
started actually procuring all the stuff for this class last fall.
Oh,
So a
uh-huh.
year in advance. Yeah, yeah, it takes a lot, and you have to juggle all these things and not let something slip through the cracks. So
Yeah.
sometimes it
Yeah, so
does, but
yeah, sampler U is in November. So yeah, last fall.
yeah.
So a full year plus ahead of time you're getting this
Hmm.
together. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I think
Yep.
people don't always appreciate what you guys have to go through just to make these things happen so that they can have a an enjoyable weekend and come away with something. It's yeah, it's a ton. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
So do you
But it's worth
struggle
it.
to yeah, well, yeah. Do you struggle to keep a steady flow of new designs with all of that going on or is that not so much a problem?
Um,
I mean,
no, it doesn't
to
seem
me
to be a
to
problem.
me you're working 80-hour weeks and trying to keep your head above water, but
Yeah, I mean, that's true. Yeah, I'm just one person, so I end up, unfortunately, I mean, it doesn't matter really. I usually end up stitching every night till midnight or 1 in the morning.
no.
I mean, and you get up, you work the minute you wake up. And I asked somebody else, I'm like, is that how it is for you? You wake up at 6 o'clock and start checking your email, and you hit the ground running, and you don't stop till midnight or one. They're like, yep.
Yeah.
So that's pretty normal,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah,
I mean, you
no,
take
that's
breaks, go to grocery store or fix dinner, but that's yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
Stitching, I picked the slowest craft to make a career out of. You know how long it takes to cross stitch?
Oh yeah.
This is not quick, you know.
Nope, it's not. It's not. Yeah. No, it's yeah, you picked a slow one. Yep. Well done.
Thank
Well
goodness for
done.
model stitchers. They're
Yeah.
lifesaver.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah. Yeah. I've wondered about that. That would be an interesting thing to try. Is I'm not real good at stitching on a schedule, but to do model stitching and have a design that's never been done before, and to experience the first time, that's got to be a fun thing. Yeah.
They seem to like it.
Yeah. Yep.
So, yeah.
Yep. Well, Becky, thanks so much. Really
Well,
enjoyed it.
thank you.
And people, egausa.org, go to the events section and you'll find all the information to sign up. But get signed up quickly because for Becky's, you get signed up so you can get your stitching done. So,
Yep.
yeah,
Yes,
it's
you could be getting a kit.
it's May, but November's coming fast. So get that done.
Yeah.
And then lucybeam.com, and that's where all your designs are at. And people can check those out. And thanks so much. Enjoyed it.
Thank you. I enjoyed it a lot. This is awesome.
Yeah. All right. And thanks to everyone for listening.